Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. I say transfer news. There is actually transfer news, but I feel like transfer news is kind of irrelevant in September and October. It kind of becomes more relevant end of November. December, January is when it's relevant. May to August is obviously when it's properly relevant. Because we do get linked to players like Camavinga, we were linked to Valverde, we've been linked to, don't think there's much in it, we've been linked to that left wing back from Inter. We do get linked to the odd player here and there. We were linked to Ruben Neves, January move, But to be honest, not really going to bother talking about transfer news because I don't think there's a lot in it. Obviously, Balaba's unhappy, blah, 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 blah. But what I am going to talk about is some news that's come out, but also some exclusive information I've got on Ruben Amorim, plans with the academy, and all of that. We're going to talk about Shea Lacey, Jack Fletcher, and Sekou Kone in particular. I got some exclusive information on two of those players. We're going to talk about their return, the plans, and things going on inside Manchester United, and maybe we'll just talk about the academy, have a conversation about what Amorim could do with the academy, because I'm of the mindset of the academy is incredibly talented. If there's an opportunity to throw them in, or we're light in a certain area or not performing well in a certain area, let's give an academy kid a chance. We've seen it with Maino and Garnacho under Ten Hag. They saved Ten Hag's job. They won us the FA Cup. But I'm also in the mindset of let's not throw academy players into this negative environment. Let's not rest too much hope on academy players, because I do feel like we have this thing as a fan base where Garnacho comes in and he's brilliant to begin with, and then, and he's so impressive for a young player, and then he gets pulled down into just United crap, and then everyone starts turning on a 19-year-old Garnacho because they expect him to save us. Same with Kobbie Mainoo. He comes in, he's fantastic. Second season isn't as good. Manager doesn't really grow to him. He gets some injuries. People start turning on Mainoo because they expect these 19-year-old kids to be our saviours and forget that they're kids. They're going to be inconsistent. They need time to develop. I'm a big fan of throwing in academy players, but it's also a big part of when the time is right, when the environment is right, and as a fan base, understanding their age. Kobbie Mainoo is an incredibly talented player, but he is so good for his age, and there's players like Yamal out there. But I still feel like people think, if you can't get Ruben Amorim's team at age 20 when he's coming back from injury, and if this is a new system, there's some fans already writing him off, which I just think is crazy, because I think Kobbie's going to be a Real Madrid Barcelona player. I genuinely believe that. But we're going to talk about the academy. We're going to talk about plans for them. I want to talk about Mike Maignan, if that's how you say his name. Again, Man United looking at him. Ruben Amorim pushing for a new number one despite signing Lemens. I mean, let's see how Lemens does first. To be honest, let's see how Lemens does first before we decide for a number one. We'll also talk about a few other news stories in regards to other youth players we're looking at in Serbia, potentially more young signings coming in. We'll talk about Amad Diallo, the abuse that he suffered. We will talk about just general news. Some absolute idiot at Old Trafford was pulling, what's his name, Frank, the United Strand's hair in the crowd, just a few idiots. Apparently he's going to be fined. Delo is back in training. And in other news is about Xerxes, kind of Henderson. We'll discuss all the latest Manchester United news, but I want to have a focus on the academy with Sekou Kone and Shea Lacey being the two players most discussed. But, if we're already looking at a new goalkeeper, what's the point of signing Lemens? I mean, it feels that way in a sense, but I see it as a situation of Lemens is going to get a chance very, very soon. Lemens is going to put Bayendier on the bench, and if Lemens is very good, we're not going to be bothered. If Lemens is bad, we'll bring in a first-team keeper. But I will say this, we have got Vitek, who's doing really well on loan, so that is one thing to bear in mind. With Casemiro suspended, I feel Kone could have that early Rashford effect and make us wonder. I mean, the thing is, Casemiro's only got 1 game suspension, not a 3-game suspension. And Sekou Kone's only just come back from that injury that he's obviously did to I think he fractured his eye socket or did something to his eye socket. So we know that Sekou Kone and Shea Lacey are now fit and they're ready in that sense. But we'd have to see. I think if it was a 3-match suspension and Agati got injured, we'd very much see Sekou Kone. But it is a case of, so it was reported that Sekou Kone is 6th choice midfielder, but I honestly think he's 5th choice midfielder because Ruben Amorim could not line up with a Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes pivot, could he? So you've got first choice is Bruno, second choice is Casemiro, third choice seems to be Agati, fourth choice is Mainoo, fifth choice is apparently Mason Mount, sixth choice is Kone. For me, Kone is 5th choice. There is rumours of trying Mazraoui in midfield if an injury crisis went that way. I'm not against Mazraoui being tried in midfield, but I would rather it be naturally given to someone like Sekou Kone. There's talk of Leacher being tried in midfield. So, Mason Mount's 5, Mazraoui 6, Leach is 7th, maybe Sekou Kone goes down to 8th. But realistically, Sekou Kone is number 5, because if you're playing with Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount pivot, we're going to, there's no point. Aiden Heaven, you could even give him a go in midfield, but there's talk of Sekou Kone getting opportunities. We will talk maybe about Aiden Heaven later, but I think Sekou Kone will definitely be getting opportunities. The big blow we have is if we're in the Europa League and if we were still in the Carabao Cup. If we're still in the Carabao Cup, we'd be playing tonight, I think. I think Grimsby Town play tonight or tomorrow. Grimsby. So if we were still in the EFL Cup, we would have been playing tomorrow or something like that, or last week or this week. Through the Europa League, we'd be playing more games because we've literally got one game a week until the FA Cup. The opportunities for the likes of Shea Lacey and Sekou Kone are just naturally lower. It's just that Man United are looking at him to sign him next season as a first choice keeper because he's out of contract. I will say this: Man United want to avoid high wages. Players that are free agents, they all often demand high wages. What was the point of not signing Donnarumma? Apparently, the reason we didn't go for Donnarumma is because if he wanted 300 grand a week, apparently he's on something crazy at City. And I think what stopped Man United signing Donnarumma and Emi Martinez was because Onana hadn't left, and Onana's on 180k a week, and I think Lemens will be on 50k a week, whereas Emi Martinez and Donnarumma will be 200k a week plus. And I think United don't want to have them and Onana in the squad. I think if Onana had been sold, let's say in July, I think we would have gone for Donnarumma or Emi Martinez. I think because Onana wasn't sold, that's why we went for Lemens. We'll talk about that story. I think you can't prioritise signing a new number 1 keeper before you've even seen Lemens play. Lemens is raw, don't get me wrong, and he might not be the guy, but you have to give Lemens a season. If Lemens plays 10 games and he's shocking, fair enough. But I don't understand why we're prioritising a new number 1 keeper when we haven't seen Lemens play. We know it's midfield. For me, 2 midfielders. I want one of Elliot Anderson or Baleba and Wharton. 2 of those 3 players. Unbelievable. For me, if we can sign Semenyo or Minte, I go Semenyo. If we could sign Semenyo, Wharton and Baleba, that is the perfect summer for me. Maybe another centre back for depth. We'll see how the goalkeeper does. We'll see how the wing backs do. We see if we've got Amarin next season. But look, that's very ambitious. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Before people comment, I'm not saying we're going to sign Wharton, Baleba and Semenyo. It's very ambitious, but I'm just saying that would be nice. Get Baleba and Isaac Price January, please. Baleba could be up for sale in January, but do we want him in bad form? Question for you down below. I don't think we need a centre-back in January, but I do think we will need a centre-back next summer, particularly if we're in Europe, because you've got Aiden Heaven and Leach for left centre-back. You've also got Luke Shaw for left centre-back. You've got Maguire and De Ligt for centre-back, and you've got Yoro Mazraoui for right centre-back. So I don't think we need a centre-back, but maybe next year with Maguire going, we lost Lindelof, we lost Evans. I don't think we need a centre-back right now, but we seen Yoro pick up injuries, De Ligt pick up injuries. It depends, but I don't think we'll need a centre-back until we're in Europe. Anderson clear of Baleba. This season Anderson's been clear, but Baleba's just a physical monster. If Ruben Amorim gets sacked, depending on the manager, I may shift more towards Elliot Anderson. But I think under Ruben Amorim, because he wants his midfielders to do absolutely crazy things that only Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo and Baleba can currently do in the league, that's why I want Baleba, because Ruben Amorim wants his midfielders to be absolute machines. I feel like Tonali could do what Ruben Amorim wants. Declan Rice could do what Ruben Amorim wants, and Moises Caicedo could do what Amorim wants. Wharton would struggle. I think Wharton could struggle on the Amorim system unless he was next to a Baleba or Caicedo type player, because Amorim asks ridiculous things of his midfield. He needs some ridiculous kind of... Yeah. Anyway, let's dive into the news on the youth. Oh, my slides aren't coming up. There we go. So, reported today by the Mail Sport, Jack Fletcher and Shea Lacey both left a lasting impression on Ruben Amorim and his staff in the past week. So Jack Fletcher and Shea Lacey have been in training and they have left a good impression. Shea Lacey wasn't involved in one of the recent under-21s game because he's been training with the first team, which is a suggestion he could be on the bench. Now, Solly said last week, which links to this story, that Shea Lacey trained with the first team today and yesterday, but Ruben Amorim impressed with his performances in training. The club views Shea Lacey as one of their best talents, which is very true. I think as a talent and as a natural talent, Shay Lacey arguably has the highest ceiling in the academy after JJ Gabriel. I think JJ Gabriel's ceiling is ridiculous. But Shay Lacey's ceiling is absolutely crazy, guys. Now he's had a lot of injury issues and that set him back. He's basically 2 years ago, this guy was like the next Phil Foden. He was massive, but he's picked up a lot of injury issues, which is sadly sort of set him back in his development. But as a player and as a potential, I mean, we even saw it in the postseason tour. He had a few little moments. Shay Lacey is sort of seen as the Phil Foden of the academy. Obviously, a lot of it is, can he stay fit? Can he do this? Can he do that? But Shay Lacey, obviously, unbelievable player, unbelievable talent. And he, has been training with the first team, and there's an expectation he could get opportunities. The problem is no EFL Cup, no Europa League, no obvious games to throw him into. But it is a case of, am I not really working in that left 10 role? Am I goes back to wing back? Potentially opportunities there for Shay Lacey. But if not, United want to loan him out if they're not going to give him first team opportunities because they feel that he's ready. Graham Bailey mentioned that Shay Lacey isn't pressing at Carrington. As a result, the club is now considering a well-placed loan in January if he's not the first team squad. So United are sort of looking at it and going, if we can't find minutes for him in January, we may look at a loan because we don't have a lot of games. If we're in the Carabao Cup, if we're in the Europa League, there's opportunities there. His injury record's been much better this season. He's just picked up a few nasty injuries, and hopefully that's just selective and he doesn't pick up more injuries and become an injury-prone player. But yeah, Manchester United obviously really rate Shay Lacey. And they know there's an unbelievable talent there. There's a lot of talented players in the academy, don't get me wrong. Victor Musa is a talented player. Lusal is a talented player. Charlie McNeil was a talented player. He didn't make it at United. Ethan Wheatley's a talented player. He may not make it at United. But we'll look at players and we'll go, well, Charlie McNeil's good. Ethan Wheatley's good. Isaac Hansen's good. But only one or two of these lots could be Man United good, and that's Shay Lacey. There's a lot of players at Man United like Jack Morehouse, which is great talent, but is he going to be Man United level good? Or is he going to be like a James Garner and a really good player for like an Everton? There's a lot of players in that academy that could be really good players for an Everton or really good players in the Championship for Sheffield United, for example. And there's a lot of players in our academy that are fantastic now. But 90% of them may be Championship players, Premier League players. Some of them end up being League One, League Two players. But every academy group, there's one or two that the club believe can be Man United level players. And that is Shay Lacey. And that is JJ Gabriel. And that is Sekou Kone. Potentially someone like Jack Fletcher is highly rated. They may want him to go out on loan. But you look at our academy. Dean Henderson is at Crystal Palace. Alanga is at Newcastle United. James Garner is at Everton. Ted Mengi did well. I think he's Luton. Did he get his move, Ted Mengi? I don't know. Axel Tuanzebe is playing in the Premier League. Mejbri is playing in the Premier League. We've got a lot of good, talented academy players that may end up being Premier League players. Amir Ibrahimov, very good player, could be a Man United level player, could be an Everton level player, could be a Crystal Palace level player, which currently right now both are above us. But you know what I mean. But Shay Lacey is seen as like, this could be he's just viewed that highly. So the club obviously want to deal with him well. Is Gore on loan? Dan Gore is another one that was really talented but had injury issues, because the year he won the Youth Cup, and this was before Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho had made their debuts for United, but I said this 4 years ago, Dan Gore, Mainoo and Garnacho were the three standouts, and two of them made it at United and the other one hasn't. But Loney's doing quite well. He's at Rotherham. And it was a report from the United District that said Man United Loney head and shoulders above teammates after position change for Rotherham, who are in the relegation zone. So apparently he's doing well at Rotherham. Harry Amas, guys, talking of academy players, Harry Amas got man of the match the other day for Sheffield Wednesday. Apparently Harry Amas put an incredible man of the match performance for Sheffield Wednesday, and Sheffield Wednesday players love him after 2 games and are saying Harry Amas is some absolute baller, proper player. So in terms of academy, I think Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. So Harry Amas already putting in top performances in 2 games in the Championship and loved by Sheffield Wednesday fans. So he could be, Harry Amas is potential one if he has a good season on loan. You can challenge Dorgu for that left wing spot. You never know. I think a Championship loan will be good for him physically. We got a lot of good talented players, and I think we look at Shay Lacey and go, well, if we can't get in the minutes, we send him to the Championship. The highest rated academy players, they either break through like Mainoo, Garnacho, Rashford, or they go to the Championship. Dean Henderson, obviously James Garner, for example, Amad Diallo, for example. So you look at Amad Championship, Garner Championship, Dean Henderson Championship. You know, I think Harry Amas could be first team player next year if he has a good season in the Championship. Alvaro went to the Championship, was unbelievable in the Championship. We sold him for 6 million. He's now Real Madrid's like standout. I mean, you know, people go, or like I saw someone say the other day, oh, if you send an academy player to the Championship, they're not good enough. What? Because you send an 18, 19-year-old to the Championship. If an 18, 19-year-old goes to the Championship and performs in the Championship, they're going to have a good career 9 times out of 10, because the Championship is a hard league. The last few players we sent to the Championship that did well, Alvaro at Real Madrid, Amad, poor start to the season, but one of our best players. You know, Tuanzebe's been there. He's had a decent career. James Garner's been there. And Harry Amas is there and doing well, which is good to see. We should have kept Odilei. Gore's had injury issues. He's obviously at Strasbourg now, so he might end up at Chelsea, which sucks. If academy players aren't United level, we need to find a way to get decent fees for them. And I think that's what they try and do. But then we say decent fees. 6 million for Alvaro. Do you know what the worst part about getting 6 million for Alvaro is? It's 6 million euros, so it's 5 million pounds. But also, we have no left back. We sold Alvaro because we didn't think he was Man United level, when we had no fit left back and was playing Lindelof and Amrabat at left back, for him to go to Benfica and a year and a half later go for 50 million to Real Madrid and be Real Madrid's best player in the most recent Champions League games. It's criminal, yeah. Anyway, let's get into my exclusive information. So, I've been informed that both Shea Lacey and Sekou Kone are now deemed fit. Shea Lacey returned a while ago, but Sekou Kone has obviously just come back from the eye socket injury and are ready for more minutes. So they're ready to get minutes. Now, is that first team minutes? Is that under 21's minutes? Probably under 21's minutes, but they're ready to play football. They're fit and they're ready to play football. So that is the positive there. It's time. They're ready. That's good stuff there. It was also mentioned that Kone is viewed as 6th choice centre mid if required, and Lacey has trained with the first team. Kone is expected to join first team training soon, but apparently Amrin rates both highly. From my sources, these after JJ Gabriel, who's too young to play, but these are a bit older and a bit more likely to come up this season. Kone and Shea Lacey, according to my sources and someone I spoke to, are the two most likely to break into the first team this season. But because no Europe and an early cup exit, limits could be limited until the FA Cup. There's a feeling that Sekou Kone will get his debut in the FA Cup this season if we get an easy first draw, which would be great to see. Thank you very much for the super chat, Field Marshall. Championship is good due to the amount of games which youngsters need. I agree. I think Championship's a great place. If they're good enough to go on loan to the Championship, you send them. Some of our players aren't good enough to go on loan to the Championship, but some of them are, like Harry Amas, James Garner. If they're good enough to go on loan to the Championship, you send them there. Get Baleba and Isaac Price, please. I think I read that one out. Biggest mistake Eric made was getting rid of Alvaro, because he didn't just do it. If Malassi and Luke Shaw was fit and we weren't going to give him minutes, I could have somewhat got behind it, but I can't get behind it because they were injured. I mean, honestly, I tell you this now, Ruben Amorim's tactics, not a big fan of them. I prefer Eric Ten Hag's tactics, but Ruben Amorim's talent ID, much bigger fan. Ruben Amorim is selling the right kind of players to sell and bringing in the right kind of players, and Mbeumo Cunha. Ten Hag was selling players that we liked, playing Forson over Amad Diallo, selling players we liked like Alvaro, not giving him a chance, and then bringing in all of his SEG players. The one thing, I prefer Ten Hag tactically to Ruben Amorim. I think Ten Hag would have won us the Europa League final, but I don't know if he'd have got us there. But Ten Hag's recruitment ruined this team, and Ten Hag's decision-making ruined this team. And while I don't like Amorim's obsession with Agate Vermeno, other than that, Amorim's talent ID of who to bring in and who to get rid of, 10 times out of Ten Hag. I will give that to Amorim. Maybe it's Ineos as well. Rashford's doing well at Barcelona. Rashford is doing well at Barcelona. Players seem to do good on loan. Yeah, if Højlund and Rashford do well on their loans, then we get a nice bit of money. £64 million plus wages saved. Basically, if Højlund and Rashford do well, we could be saving around 90 million for next summer. Because United want to see if they can get the 30 million for Rashford, but they put 26 million in there. I saw a chat and I can't find it. But I agree with this. Championship is very good. Thanks for the super chat. Nothing will improve unless Amorim changes formation into 4-4-2. Alice, Amorim's formation makes these players look bad. I don't like the formation. And it's not just because of the formation, it's the way he uses it. At least, if you look at the way Glasner uses his formation compared to Amorim, Glasner uses his midfield so differently to Amarin, and that's what I don't like, is how Amarin uses the midfield. Because Glasner uses the same formation, and not that Crystal Palace are amazing. They came 12th, but they've been unbeaten for 18 games. But Glasner uses it better than Amarin. I do think, and I'm going to be completely honest, Dorgu's better in a back four, Dalot's better in a back four, Mazraoui's better in a back four, Maino, Bruno, Casemiro are all better in a midfield three. I'm going to be honest with you. What if I was Man United manager? I'm lining up Dorgu left back, Mazraoui right back, Lemens in goal, De Ligt and Euro as the centre backs. You've got Casemiro as the DM. You've got Maino as the sit. You've got Maino as the 8. Bruno as the 10. Midfield 3. You've got, to be honest, right now I would go with Cunha up top, dropping deep, facilitating Ahmed on the left and Boomer on the right. But we'll see how Sesko does. We'll see how Xerxes does. Maybe move Cunha over to the left. But I like that. I really like that. And then you add Semenyo in as your long-term left winger. You add Wharton in to replace, Casemiro with. You got Baleba or Ali Anderson in there. And all I'm just saying is, like, imagine Man United, imagine 4-4-3-2-1 next season with Lemens, Mazraoui, Dorgu. Because I think Dorgu's much better in back four because he's got really good ball progression, Dorgu, but his crossing is Yori De Ligt. And then you've got, I don't know, Baleba, Wharton, Maino, which maybe lacks creativity. I think we'd need a Cole Palmer to replace Bruno with. Replacing Bruno will be a question over next summer. That'll be difficult. You got Cunha as maybe the number 9, dropping deep with Semenyo and Boomer as the wingers. Maybe Cunha on the left. See how Sesko does. I think there's good options there. I would love to see a 4 at the back. I ain't gonna lie. I prefer 4 at the backs. I don't like 5 at the backs. I'm not saying 5 at the backs can't work. They can work. But I do think Ruben Amorim needs to change how he uses the midfield and sometimes how he uses the wing back in certain games. I'm going to be honest. Gallagher in January. I'd rather Ruben Neves. He's better on the ball. Dorgu would be better in a back 4. You bench Bruno. Oh, mate, imagine Bruno in the 10 in a 4-2-3-1. You couldn't bench Bruno. Bruno's just, we wouldn't create enough. Maybe you play Cunha as a 10 eventually, but no. Stiller looks like a guy we should be looking at. I think Stiller would be very good with Baleba, but we need Baleba for the physicality, Stiller for the technicality. Anyway, let's continue on into more news. So, this was reported 2 weeks ago, but Sekou Kone is apparently now ready and sort of fit. But Sekou Kone is currently doing individual grass sessions as he steps up his recovery work after injury. Set to return to the group with under-21s training soon, injury not seen as serious and he could be involved with the first team later this season, was all things that was said on Sekou Kone, which is good to see. Hopefully he gets some involvement soon. I'm a big fan of Sekou Kone. I was really impressed with him in about the 10 minutes he got on the postseason tour, but those 10 minutes I thought was a really impressive 10 minutes. So I would really like to see Sekou Kone hopefully get some involvement with the Manchester United first team soon. I would really like to see that. Or at least, 10 minutes off the bench. I think there's a real player in Sekou Kone. I think he could suit the midfield too well. I think he keeps the ball well. I think there's questions, is he physically ready for first team football in terms of ground coverage, in terms of stamina? Yes. Is he ready to deal with the physicality of the league? That's the big question. But I think Sekou Kone is close, knocking on the door. Casemiro suspended. Maybe we see him on the bench versus Brentford. Maybe we see him on the bench. I don't know if he's quite ready there. But there was a few things said about Sekou Kone last week by Steve Railston that I want to share. There's a belief inside Man United that Sekou Kone will have a first-team debut and impact before the season ends. Sekou Kone did not feature on the US tour, but staff believe he could impact the first team later this season. He's unlikely to play a role in the first half of the campaign. He's coming back from injury. We've only got 1 game a week. Still needs more training time to convince Amorim he's going to be thrown into first team training soon. But there's a feeling second half of the season, Sekou Kone could get opportunities to impress. And that happens a lot. We see youngsters, most of them get their opportunity towards the back end of the season. We didn't see Harry Amas or Fredriksson or any of the youth really get an opportunity to the back end of last season. But that is good to know that Sekou Kone is there. He is rated highly. And look, we've got some really good players in the academy right now. Camerson, Kakonki, Mantato, Fitzgerald, Fletcher, Lacey, Obi, JJ Gabriel. That doesn't even mention the likes of Monroe, Thwaites, Ibrahimov. This doesn't even mention Sekou Kone or Harry Amas because they're a little bit older and further ahead. But the level of talent we've got in the academy is promising. It's absolutely promising. Cunha and Mbeumo were constantly creating at their old clubs, and they're doing well at United, considering the system doesn't get the best out of players. Considering our system relies so much on individual brilliance and players to be brilliant all the time, I think they're doing really well. Mason Mount's had a really good start to the season. He has had a really good start to the season. Thwaites is amazing. I'm surprised he didn't put Thwaites in there. To be honest, I put Thwaites in over Tyler Fletcher. I don't watch a lot of the academy, but I watch the odd game here and there. And Thwaites is he's a player. I would have put him in over Tyler Fletcher there. He looks very good. But yeah, Kone's probably the most physically ready out the lot. I actually think Kone looks physically more ready than maybe what's being reported. I agree with you on that. So yeah, let's talk about the goalkeeping situation because it is a bit silly. I just think, like Lemens does, like I understand keeping an eye on tabs on goalkeepers for next summer because Lemens wasn't necessarily brought in to be the guy. He was kind of brought in to challenge Bayendir, and because the data said he was good. But United are keeping tags on Mike Magnan, with Amarin pushing for a more experienced number one signing than what more experienced new number one than new signing Sen at Le Mans. Is it Le Mans? Le Mans or Le Mans? Le Mans? I don't know. Le Mans? Le Mans? I keep googling it and I keep getting a different answer. But look, I just think let's see how he does first. Before we decide we're going to sign a new keeper, let's actually see how he does. Because if he's really good, we don't need to sign a new keeper. I want him to be really good, and if he's really good, we've also got Vitek. For me, let's keep an eye on him. Let's keep an eye on Vitek and see. Midfield's the priority. Midfield's where the money should be. If Lemens does well, Vitek does well. You know, Bayendir ain't good enough. Bayendir does. You can see every time there's a corner, the players are shitting themselves, thinking, "Do not let anyone get near Bayendir because he can't do anything." You know, Bayendir don't fill those players with confidence. I don't think Bayendir is better than Onana personally. I just think that Bayendir is probably less of a liability right now than Onana because wow, Onana was shocking in that Grimsby game. So let's see how Lemens starts. I think Lemens will get opportunities soon, which will be good. I agree with this. Thwaites is amazing, but isn't an Amarin midfielder, and that's true. I don't like Amarin midfielders. Camerson 2 looks very good. I agree. Mantato has really dropped. Yeah, I think Mantato had injury issues though. There's a good player in Mantato, but I think injuries have sort of set him back a little bit. He had a nasty one last season, but he is highly rated. In terms of other links, we have been linked to 2 young players out in Serbia. So I can't say their names, but we'll keep an eye on that. We are looking at a lot of the best young talents in leagues outside the top 5 leagues to try and snap them up. If you look at what Tottenham have done with Luka Vuskovic is looking absolutely mint on loan. He's like an 18-year-old centre-back and he looks mint. But you look at Tottenham, what they've done with Bergvall, Papsar, and recently Luka Vuskovic, who's on loan doing really well. United want to copy what Tottenham have done and find these young gems. Like Lucas Bergvall is for me, Lucas Bergvall is an £80 million player. I honestly think that. Like he's phenomenal. Tottenham have got him. They've obviously looked at other good players like Vuskovic is on loan. He's balling out. Papsar. We want to do sort of what Tottenham have done and look around the leagues and find those sort of young gems that are sort of 16, 17. You know, maybe you buy them and then they stay at their club for a year or two. Then they come to you when they're 18, 19. I think that's what United are looking to do. Vitek could become number one. He's been man of the match nearly every game he's played in the Championship. And yeah, a few other stories to talk about here. The club offered Ahmad support after the winger suffered online abuse of posting a picture of Alejandro Garnacho. Club sources accept the Instagram upload was naive, but stressed that Ahmad is okay in the wake of the ordeal. Look, it was a bit naive to post a picture of Garnacho after everything that's gone down with Garnacho on Instagram, but I did a video on it, or a live stream on it yesterday. Anyone that was giving Ahmad abuse is an idiot, is a twat. Why are you giving Ahmad abuse? It's not that deep. I get that we are not in a good place right now, but we beat Chelsea. Ahmad is the least of our problems. We shouldn't be sending anyone abuse. It's an Instagram picture. Get over yourself. And talking of abuse, United are looking into footage that show one of their fans being attacked by another supporter at the Chelsea match on Saturday and will impose strong sanctions if the perpetrator is identified. This is the guy that's growing his hair out and won't cut it to win 5 games in a row. I get some Man United fans might not like that content, but don't go and attack the guy. If you think it's okay to attack someone, you're a twat. So, yeah, ending on more of a negative note, but don't go attacking people in the stadium because you're an absolute twat if you do that. Don't go giving Ahmad abuse online because you're a twat. What we can do is we can have constructive conversations. This player's not been good enough. This hasn't been good enough. I don't like this player. I don't like that player. More than fine. Going and messaging someone abuse, not okay. Going and full-on outrage abuse and messaging someone and saying horrible things, not okay. Constructive criticism. Amarin subs were atrocious. This player's been bad. That player's been bad. It's just about having constructive conversations. Don't go out of your way sending abuse to players or silly things, because at the end of the day, it's a game of football. Let's not abuse fans. Let's not abuse players. And let's just hope that we're good and we can get some positive things to talk about. But yeah, big up to everybody in the chat. Stark contrast, Yoro did shrug Garnacho off. That was quite funny. We've got someone who think is from South Africa in the chat here. Big up to South Africa. Martinez did it with McAllister after losing 3-0 and no one did anything. I think it's just Garnacho because he's an idiot. But yeah. Anyway, people, thank you for watching today's video. I will be back tomorrow morning with a video. I don't know if I'll be live tomorrow. With a very busy day tomorrow, so unless there's really any big news, there probably will only be one piece of content tomorrow, depending on the news. But look, big up to everybody tuning in to today's little show. I will be back tomorrow with a short video, maybe a live stream if there is anything interesting to talk about, but we've only got one game a week, so midweek isn't exciting right now. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye.